This has been the case, I think, throughout my sort of making experience over the last, decade really. This balancing out of quite in-depth research and, a lot of like very physical production and making and pushing of, my sort of understanding of materials. Working with digital tools and working with, say, something like a text-to-image prompt where I'm sort of collaborating to see what kind of output happens when I talk about the kind of mining machinery and the camera and extractive tools. There is a kind of poetics behind that. And seeing these kind of weird sort of digital interpretations of these kind of slippery objects, these machines. When I was proposing to make this project, which is now titled Variations, I had just completed a really big body of work that was really interrogating computer-generated architectural propositions. As my practice had developed from interrogating kind of photographic techniques or things that could be described as photographic that don't use a camera, it felt like the kind of most logical technology to start to investigate next. One of the things about sort of generative AI and the way that we're sort of presented with images as outputs of text to image, often we're given kind of 4 choices. I sort of thought about how one might apply that to a curatorial process and think, well, rather than making this kind of project that might tour from space to space, maybe this is something that could be, a variation on itself. The first variation is called Content Aware. That is going to be launching very soon as a shipping container that is kind of plastered in photographic imagery. So that work really is sort of thinking about the global logistics and the kind of like networking of the materials that are needed in order to kind of allow machine learning processes to take place and for the digital realm to even happen. I'm wondering whether I would sort of call it site-specific, because one of the things about this project is the sort of many sites that are involved. Whilst it's sited within, the context of a sort of public square in Brighton, the first iteration, there are so many different sites and contexts that responds to. It's part of a photographic festival and a festival that is exploring kind of digital processes. I was quite drawn to Brighton as well because of its proximity to the coast, and there's something about that first iteration and the container somehow landing like it's arrived from, it's sort of travelled in from the sea. So it has these relationships to its site, but it can also be sort of relocated. It might be quite confrontational and frustrating. It will be this shipping container that sort of houses these images, but also it's fit with a security camera. It's not just a container that sort of displays images, but it also takes them and extracts them. One of the things this does, over the course of a year is it really, it totally unfolds. It's like this sort of evolutionary process. So it doesn't give everything away. It doesn't have the immediacy of photography. And I think that's what I'm trying to kind of push against. In a time where we're presented with photographs more than ever, how do you kind of push against that immediacy? Yeah, I think the way that I am sort of working with AI is less about demonstrating what it does, but it's more sort of, in a way, it's kind of like enacting its processes using photography. So because of that, and because it's an experiment, it's really completely unknown, and I don't know what it's going to look like at the end, and I don't know what the repository of information will look like. I don't know what the participants will do. I don't know how they will behave or act. The approach that I take when I'm making work, it has to be really meticulously planned because they're quite ambitious installations often, but yet there is this like fragment that's missing. So in a way, this has really pushed my working process in a direction that I haven't done before. It's a very kind of rare opportunity, I think, having a period of time to sort of make and reflect on and remake and learn and sort of push your processes in a particular way. So it's allowed for a really kind of in-depth engagement in a process that is changing constantly as I'm dealing with it as well. Having other people and curators and thinkers and artists really as well to be able to bounce ideas off is really important. So that's been, it's been a really fantastic process. Also this sort of idea of the variations of the show really came through conversation. It wasn't like this sort of aha moment and this is what I propose to do, but it came through kind of hours of chatting about the work and what it was that I was trying to map out. I still feel like it's important for me to know that people won't engage necessarily with the material. They may well engage with the image that is taken of that public installation or sort of exhibition display. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm starting to think so much about inserting audience into the work, because suddenly it gives the work that context of the sort of here and the now and the people that are engaging with it. It's about kind of allowing that image to exist materially before it goes back into image form again.